Hello, we're the final bosses, and today we're going to be answering 5 unanswered questions in Bleach.
But before that, spoiler warning, this spoils most of the end of the anime and the light novel. But with that out of the way,
Let's fight.
So the first question we're going to answer today is, does Yoruichi have a Zanpakuto, and by extension, does she have a Bankai? Let's get this out of the way first. Yes, she does have a Zanpakuto. We see it in flashbacks when she's training with Kisuke, though we never see it used outside of this flashback, and the sword is not in any transformed state. It's probably in its Asahuchi state, which is a state before a Shikai. And then the next question we're going to ask is, does she have a Bankai? The answer would be yes, obviously she does have a Bankai. She was a captain in the Gotai 13, and you can't become a captain in the Gotai 13 without having a Bankai, with the exception of Kenpachi Zaraki, because he killed his former captain. So, with that out of the way, let's address the obvious question in the room. Have we ever seen Yoruichi use her Zanpakuto, or by extension, have we ever seen her Bankai? And I know what all you're thinking. Yes, we saw her Bankai in her fight with Askin. Actually, that's incorrect. That's not her Bankai. That was something triggered by Kisuke that caused a shift in her Ryotsu, which was able to increase her speed and physical strength. In the manga, they called this a gift ball. And since it was triggered by Kisuke, no, this is not her Bankai or anything to do with her Zanpakuto. So you may be wondering, then where is her Bankai, or where is her Zanpakuto? Well, it all comes from the fact that Yoruichi is from an ancient clan in the world of Bleach. She's from the Shihon family. And the Shihon family are, like other families in Bleach, probably passed down their Zanpakuto. So, for example, Nanano has a passed down Zanpakuto. If her Zanpakuto was passed down, you would think she would have it and be able to use it, right? Well, I think because Yoruichi defected from the Gotai 13 and the Soul Society and became quote-unquote a traitor, she probably didn't want to take her family's Zanpakuto as she has a little brother. And she probably left it there for her little brother. So, to the answer to the question, yes, Yoruichi does have a Zanpakuto, and she does have a Bankai, but we've never seen it. In fact, we probably never will get to see it because she left the Zanpakuto for her little brother, who will be the next leader of the Shihon family and be taking over the clan after her. So the next question we're going to tackle is about the final Getsu Gatencho, which is one of the most decisive moments in Bleach. A lot of fans consider it to be a MacGuffin that the author pulled out of nowhere just to beat Aizen, but I can assure you that it's not. To explain this, I have to tell you a bit about Ichigo and his father, Hashin Kurosaki, and a bit about their Zanpakutos. To start out, their Zanpakutos are very similar. In fact, their names are almost the same. Kashin's Zanpakuto is named Ingetsu, which roughly translates to Crescent Moon Cutting the Heavens, and Ichigo's Zanpakuto is named Zangetsu, which roughly translates to Full Moon Covering the Heavens. Take in the similar names in consideration, and also remember they even share the same attack, the Getsu Gatencho. So, what does this have to do with the fact that the final Getsu Gatencho was not a MacGuffin, you're probably wondering? Well, Hashin Kurosaki is from the Hashin clan, and they're a noble clan from the Soul Society, though he did defect. They probably have techniques that were passed down through the clans and through the generations. And I believe the final Getsu Gatencho is one of those. Maybe Hashin's grandfather or father used it and taught it to him, and therefore Hashin was able to pass it down to Ichigo. There are similar techniques to this in Bleach, like for example, Captain Konomura has a technique where he can revert to his human form, gain a massive amount of spiritual power, and then he reverts to his animal form permanently, losing all of his spiritual power. And there's also the Quincy's using Lit Zeal, which when they use that, they lose their spiritual power forever, but for that moment they gain a massive amount of Ryotsu and Ryotsu control. To add that, Ichigo also has Quincy blood, so you could also take that in consideration as a possible reason why the final Getsu Gatencho works. But no, I don't think it was pulled out of nowhere. In fact, I think Hashin already knew the technique and taught it to Ichigo, knowing the sacrifice and danger that comes with the move. Being that he had knowledge of both his clan and he had knowledge of the Quincy's, I think that it makes perfect sense that this technique could exist in the world of Bleach. The next question we're going to answer is, how does Yuchiro have a Zanpakuto, and by that extent, a Shikai? We know that Yuchiro herself is a Zanpakuto. She is, to be exact, Kenpachi's Zanpakuto spirit. So how can a spirit have its own Zanpakuto and its own unique Shikai? Well, this one definitely requires more theory crafting than the others. I do think I have a good idea of how that happened, and it all stems from how Kenpachi got his Zanpakuto in the first place. He stole it out the body of a dead Soul Reaper that he killed. This means that the Soul Reaper had already had the Zanpakuto, and he began pulling his spiritual energy in it. I believe that his Zanpakuto had already formed a Shikai and a spirit. Kenpachi's massive spiritual power overrode it and pushed it back and started to form its own spirit, and that's how Yachiro was born. Eventually, after he poured so much spiritual energy in it, she gained a physical form, and the Shikai that she uses is actually the former Shikai and Bankai of the original Soul Reaper that Zaraki killed. This would make sense given its unique power and the unique shape of it, and the fact that they already appear as sort of almost dead-looking hollow-esque spirits.
Moving to the fourth question, we are going over Vastilorde and their creation. We need to start by going over the ranks of hollows. The first level of hollow does not have a special name. There are hollows that Ichigo and his friends fight in the early chapters of Bleach. The bigger ones are made from groups of hollows eating each other. They are called Gillian. Gillians are massive consciousness of hollows. If there's a strong personality inside the Gillian, and it manages to keep its personality, if it then eats enough hollows, it becomes an Ahucha. This is where a common misconception is. Some people believe that if an Ahucha eats enough hollows, it becomes a Vastilorde. However, Grimmjow ate thousands of hollows, and at a certain point, he stopped gaining power and never became a Vastilorde. This proves that Vastilorde is not part of the evolution process of hollows. Something we believe is that a Vastilorde is something that a person is born into, as Ukiyora's earliest memory is of waking up as a Vastilorde. This is a good example of being born into it. Hollybell also claims that that is her first memory. So what is our answer to the creation of a Vastilorde? Well, we don't believe it to be random. Our theory is that a Vastilorde was a Fullbringer who was eaten by a hollow. With Fullbringers being rare, and the chance of Fullbringer being killed by a hollow is even rarer, since they can defend themselves pretty easily, this would explain why there are so few Vastilordes, and they also mostly retain their human form. What about Stark, you say? Well, we have a theory for him too. Stark is the only known hollow to be born in Espada. All their Espadas were created by Aizen using the Wishing Rock, or the Hokyokyu. Our theory is that he was a Fullbringer who was eaten while being a substitute Soul Reaper, which would be an extremely rare thing, but it is possible within the Bleach universe. Well, after that last mouthful, we're moving on to our last question, that being, why is the Sternritters and Yohai Botch so powerful? The Soul King wanted to create a version of himself to help the world of the living, and he created Yohai Botch. However, Yohai Botch was not interested in this responsibility. He eventually stopped doing his duty, and he went and enjoyed his life and had offspring. These offspring are the Quincy's. So that would make Quincy's Niflheim. The Sternritters, however, are a little different. They are Quincy's who are given a portion of who God is, or what God has given to man. Let me explain with a few examples. The love, the power, and the heat. The love is something God gave humans. In the Bible, God is love. God, of course, is power, and in many mythologies, the gods give fire, or the heat, to humans. Each of these Sternritters drink Yohai Botch's blood. They gain immortality and are given a letter. It is from this letter where they gain their god power. Each other holy forms looks like an angel's. In conclusion, Yohai Botch has the power of the Soul King and has given parts of that power to his Sternritters. Fun side note, Yohai Botch seems to be a mix of Jesus and Satan, being locked away for thousands of years and having a time where he comes out, is the prophecy of Satan in Revelations, by the way. Yohai Botch also seems to be a play on Yahweh, which is God's name in Hebrew. Man, that was some crazy theories that we were doing.
Yeah.
Even if half of them are wrong, that was just super awesome theory crafting.
Really fun. Lots of not sleeping.
Yeah.
I remember writing this. And the reason we decided to re-record this video is because we were asked by a couple of people. A lot of people really enjoyed the theories, but couldn't enjoy the video because of how crappy our audio was back then.
We didn't have the setup that we do now, so we were happy to re-record everything and actually get you a good quality video for this amazing theory that Ashi came up with.
And and as always, if you enjoyed this and you want to know more Bleach content, let us know. We'll definitely do more as the anime's ending comes out in 2021. And as always,
we have been the Final Bosses.